All right, let's dive in. We're tackling the Bhagavad Gita today.
Oh, a classic.
A classic is right. We're using the translation by Swami Swarupananda
Okay.
and focusing on those first 18 chapters. So if you're looking for some wisdom on duty, destiny, and, well, the whole reality thing, you're in the right place.
You know, what's always fascinated me about the Gita is how it's not just straight philosophy. It's a story.
Yeah.
And such an epic one, too.
Right. Set just before the Kurukshetra War, which, by the way, was huge EE.
A war that basically reshaped India. It was that massive.
Exactly. So, picture this. Two massive armies facing off, the tension, you can cut it with a knife.
And on one side, you've got the Pandavas. These guys are the rightful heirs to the throne.
And on the other side, their cousins, the Kauravas. Power hungry, let's just say that.
But the story really gets going with Arjuna, the Pandavas' top warrior, having a complete meltdown.
Dude's about to go into battle and he's like falling apart.
It's not even like he's scared of dying. Arjuna is a seasoned warrior, but he's hit with this like existential dread about what he's about to do.
He's got to fight his family, his teachers, his friends.
People he loves who are ready to die for a cause he's not even sure is right. Talk about a moral crisis.
It's heavy stuff. You can really feel his anguish in the text. He even says, "My limbs fail me, and my mouth is parched up. I shiver all over, and my hair stands on end."
I mean, can you imagine being in his shoes? About to fight, but your heart is completely not in it.
Right. Have you ever been there? Like knowing what you're supposed to do, but feeling totally conflicted deep down.
That's what's so brilliant about the Gita, though. It takes this human, relatable struggle and uses it as a springboard to explore these massive philosophical questions. And that's where Krishna comes in.
Krishna, yeah. Not just Arjuna's charioteer, but also, hold on, an incarnation of the divine.
The big guy himself.
Right there to guide him,
Mm.
and not just with some battlefield pep talk.
Oh, no. Krishna lays out this whole cosmic framework for understanding life, death, the whole shebang.
The self, what it even means, it's deep stuff.
One of the core teachings is this idea of the Atman, your eternal self.
So not the body, not the personality.
Exactly. Krishna explains that this Atman is totally separate from your body, your mind, all of that.
That death is like, what, changing clothes for the Atman?
Not the end of you at all.
Whoa! So it's like Krishna's telling Arjuna, hey man, the body's temporary, but the real you, that keeps going.
Which leads to this huge idea of non-attachment. Krishna says, do your duty, but don't obsess over winning or losing.
Like play the game, but don't get all hung up on the scoreboard.
Yeah, it's more about recognizing that we can only control our actions, not the results. Act with integrity, but let go of trying to control the whole universe.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do we actually put that into practice?
Well, Krishna outlines 3 major yoga's paths to liberation to help with that.
Paths to liberation.
Okay.
Like different routes up the same mountain.
Something like that, yeah. First, there's karma yoga, the path of selfless action.
Do your duty, but don't be all ego-driven about it.
Right. You do what needs to be done, but without getting caught up in me, me, me.
And that purifies the heart, leads towards freedom.
That's the idea. Then there's jnana yoga, the path of knowledge, self-realization. True knowledge destroys ignorance and frees your soul. That's what the Gita says.
Ah, okay. So it's not just about knowing stuff, but really understanding it deeply.
Exactly. And finally, there's bhakti yoga, the path of devotion.
Okay, devotion. So like focusing all your love on the Supreme Being.
Yeah, which leads to this unity with the divine.
3 paths, but all aiming for the same goal, liberation.
That's the thing. And the Gita doesn't say you have to pick just one. They can actually work together, each supporting the others.
So you can mix and match, find what works for you.
Exactly. But the Gita isn't just a dry philosophy lecture, you know? It's packed with stories, metaphors that bring these ideas to life. Like, imagine Arjuna seeing Krishna's cosmic form, the Vishvarupa.
Whoa, what's that?
Basically, Arjuna gets this mind-blowing glimpse of the whole universe and Krishna's true nature as this ultimate being.
Whoa, that's got to be intense.
To say the least. It makes you think, though, how do we even begin to grasp these cosmic concepts?
Yeah, good point. It can feel overwhelming.
That's where those metaphors and stories come in to help us understand these huge ideas.
Okay, so like what? Give me an example.
Like the Ashvatha tree. Have you heard of that?
I don't think so.
Well, it's this tree that's rooted in heaven and branches down to earth, representing the whole cycle of birth, death, and rebirth.
So our whole journey here on Earth.
Yeah, exactly. Its roots growing downwards symbolize our attachment to material things.
Ah, I see. Makes sense.
And then the branches reaching upwards represent our yearning for spiritual liberation.
I like that. It's a great image. So it's all about balancing those two forces,
Yeah.
right? The earthly and the divine.
That's a big part of it, yeah. And then there are the gunas, those qualities we mentioned earlier, sattva, rajas, tamas.
Right, the gunas, so like the different modes of energy that influence everything.
Exactly, like the software running our human behavior.
So if we understand these gunas,
It's like getting a user manual for our own minds.
we can see what makes us tick.
Our tendencies, our strengths, our weaknesses, how those things affect what we do and how we see the world, it's all connected.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
But now let's bring this all down to earth a bit. How does any of this ancient stuff help us here and now?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How does the Gita help us with the challenges we face every day? What can understanding the self really do for us?
I mean, how do we practice non-attachment when we're surrounded by ads, social media, the constant pressure to have the next big thing?
It's hard, right? And what about finding purpose? Does the Gita have anything to say to a world that often feels so chaotic and meaningless? We need to find out.
Yeah, that's what we're here to explore. These are the questions we're going to keep digging into as we dive deeper into the Bhagavad Gita. But before we go any further, what stood out to you so far? What's got you thinking? Hold on to that thought as we keep going with this incredible text.
You know, something that really hits me about the Gita is this whole thing about looking inward, really exploring your own consciousness. It's not about blindly accepting what you're told. It's about questioning, reflecting,
Yeah, finding your own truth.
Exactly. And the Gita gives us this framework for understanding how it all works, this interplay between the kshetra and the kshetrajna. Have you heard of that?
I have, but I'll admit, it's a bit fuzzy. Remind me.
Sure. So the kshetra, it's often translated as the field. It basically refers to your physical body and the whole material world around you, the realm of your senses.
Okay, so everything you can see, hear, touch, taste, smell, that whole thing.
That's the kshetra. It's the stage where life's drama plays out. And then there's the kshetrajna.
The knower of the field, right?
Right. That's your consciousness, the part of you that's experiencing the chitra. It's the real you, the Atman, the witness to everything happening around you.
So if the kshetra is like a movie playing on a screen, the kshetrajna is like the audience watching.
That's a great analogy. And getting this difference is huge. It frees you from identifying only with your physical body. You see those experiences as temporary. It opens you up to this deeper awareness.
Okay, so how does this kshetrajna dynamic actually play out in our lives?
Well, think about it. We're constantly bombarded with sensory input, sights, sounds, smells, the whole works. It's so easy to get lost in all that.
Yeah, like swept up in the chaos.
Exactly. We react emotionally, we get attached, we're constantly chasing what we want, running from what we don't want.
It's exhausting.
It is. But the Gita reminds us, hey, we have a choice. We can just react to everything, or we can cultivate the awareness of the Kshetrajna, that inner observer.
So it's about stepping back from the chaos and realizing, hey, I'm not the chaos, I'm the one experiencing it.
Yes. And that awareness gives you freedom to choose how you respond. You can act with clarity and purpose, not just get tossed around by everything coming at you.
I like that. It reminds me of those gunas we talked about, those fundamental qualities, sattva, rajas, and tamas. How do they fit into all of this?
That's a great connection. The Gita is giving us tools for self-understanding, not just abstract ideas. The gunas are a perfect example of that.
Okay, so remind me. Sattva is the one associated with purity, light, wisdom. It brings clarity, peace, balance, right?
Exactly. Then you've got rajas, the guna of action, passion, energy. It's what pushes us to achieve, to create.
And tamas is kind of the opposite, right? Inertia, darkness, ignorance. It makes us feel stuck, sluggish.
Right. And the key here is we all have all three gunas within us, but in different proportions, they're constantly interacting, shaping how we think, how we feel, how we act.
So it's like having this inner team, each with their own strengths and weaknesses, all competing for the spotlight.
Love that analogy. And the challenge, according to the Gita, is to become aware of these gunas and cultivate more of that sattva while keeping rajas and tamas in check.
Okay, so how do we do that? Do we have to become monks, meditate all day long?
Not necessarily. The Gita suggests practical things. Mindfulness, meditation, cultivating positive thoughts and emotions, selfless service.
Surrounding yourself with good people, good energy.
Exactly. It's about making choices that are aligned with those sattvic qualities, even in everyday life.
So choosing clarity, choosing balance, choosing inner peace.
Right. Which brings us to this concept of liberation, or moksha, the ultimate goal.
Moksha, often portrayed as this far-off mystical state. But the Gita says it's achievable now while we're still here.
Right. The Gita talks about Jivan Mukti, liberation while alive. It's the idea that we can experience freedom from suffering, even in these physical bodies.
By cultivating that detachment, realizing we're the Atman, not just this body.
Exactly. It's not about escaping the world. It's about changing how we relate to it, shifting from identifying with the Kshetra to being aware as the Kshetrajna.
I'm starting to see the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
And this is where the Gita's teachings on bhakti devotion come in, right?
Yes. Bhakti isn't just blind faith or rituals. It's about cultivating this deep, heartfelt connection with the divine.
So developing a relationship with that divine source.
Yes, and the Gita says that bhakti can take many forms. Selfless service, meditation, even offering a flower with a pure heart.
It's the intention that matters, not the specific form.
Exactly. What matters is the sincerity of the heart, focusing on the divine, surrendering the ego to something greater.
And the Gita says that through bhakti, we can break free from this illusion of separateness, experience the unity of all things.
We tap into that infinite love, that wisdom that's always present within us.
Okay, so the Gita offers a map of the human condition, a compass for navigating the journey to self-realization.
And it's a journey that's unique for each individual. But here's the thing. Despite all the philosophy and spiritual practices, the Gita ultimately calls us to action.
So it's not just about sitting around contemplating.
No, it's about living with purpose, with courage, engaging with the world, with awareness, compassion, a sense of dharma.
It's like Krishna is saying to each of us, don't just sit on the sidelines. Get in the game, make a difference.
And that action doesn't have to be some grand gesture. It can be as simple as doing your daily duties with awareness, treating others with kindness and respect.
Leaving the world a little better than we found it.
Exactly. But what about when life throws you curveballs? You face those tough choices, you're filled with doubt.
The Gita must have something to say about that, right?
It does. That's where the teachings on the Stathoprajna come in. The person of steady wisdom. The one who remains calm in the midst of the storms.
So it's like having this inner anchor that keeps you grounded when everything around you feels like it's falling apart.
Exactly. And the Gita gives us practical ways to cultivate this stability. Things like mindfulness, self-control, really understanding the self. It's an ongoing journey.
It's not about denying your emotions, but about learning to observe them without getting swept away.
Right. Respond to life's challenges with wisdom, grace, like climbing a mountain. There will be tough parts, moments of doubt, but each step makes you stronger, and you see the peak more clearly.
Love that image. The Gita is your guide along the way, reminding you of your potential.
Exactly. We've talked about the Kshetra and Kshetrajna, the gunas, the paths to liberation, even the Sthitaprajna. But there's one more fascinating concept I want to touch on. This idea of the divine as the source of everything.
Okay, yeah, that's a big one. Krishna talks about being the creator, the sustainer, the destroyer of the universe, the one who permeates all things.
It's pretty mind-blowing, right? That everything we experience, this whole cosmos, is a manifestation of divine energy.
Whoa, it really puts things in perspective.
And the Gita encourages us to see the divine not just as some external force, but as the very essence of our being.
So it's like realizing we're not just separate individuals, but expressions of this interconnected web of existence. The divine isn't just out there, it's in here too.
Exactly. And that realization changes everything. It inspires you to treat everyone with reverence, to see that divine spark in everyone you meet.
It's a call to move through the world with compassion, understanding, that sense of connection. But the Gita's honest. This isn't always easy. We live in a world of duality.
Light and shadow, good and bad, you know. It doesn't offer easy answers or deny suffering. It gives us tools to navigate these dualities with wisdom and balance.
So the Gita is saying, the world is messy and challenging, but there's a deeper reality beneath the surface. And you have the power to tap into that.
Yes. And one way we access that deeper reality is through surrender.
Surrender. That can sound like weakness.
I know, right? But the Gita presents it as a powerful act of strength and wisdom.
So not giving up, but consciously letting go of the need to control everything.
Trusting in something greater than yourself.
Like saying, okay, I'm done trying to force things. I'm surrendering to the flow, to the universe, to my own heart.
Exactly. And the Gita assures us, when we surrender like that, we open ourselves to grace, to a power beyond anything our ego could ever imagine.
So aligning yourself with the divine will, the cosmic flow, the harmony at the heart of it all.
Exactly. And the beautiful thing about surrender, it's a practice, a way of being. It's about surrendering your ego's desires, fears, anxieties, and opening yourself up to guidance.
And through surrender, we find true freedom.
That's the promise. Freedom from the ego's limitations, from suffering, the freedom to live with purpose and joy. But what does surrender actually look like? How do we go from understanding it to living it?
That's a great question. And one we'll explore as we move into the final part of our deep dive into the Bhagavad Gita. But before we do, I'm curious, what aspect of surrender speaks to you? What challenges do you see? Think about that as we embark on the final part of our journey through this amazing text.
One thing that strikes me about the Gita is how it's not all about retreating from the world and meditating on a mountaintop. It's not about escaping reality. It acknowledges that we're here in these bodies and we have to act. Action is just part of life.
Yeah, it's about bringing those big cosmic insights down to earth, integrating them into everyday life. It's practical, you know?
Exactly. And that's where karma yoga gets really interesting, because it's not about racking up good deeds for some reward later on. It's about transforming action itself, turning it into a path to liberation.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we take, washing the dishes or going to work and turn that into a spiritual practice?
Well, the Gita gives us some guidelines. First, act without getting attached to the results. Don't obsess over what you'll get out of it. Focus on the action itself, the intention behind it.
So, I'm going to give this presentation my all, but I'm not going to freak out about whether or not I get the promotion.
Exactly. Do your best, but let go of needing to control everything. The second principle is to act in accordance with your dharma.
Dharma. That's a big word. What does that mean in this context?
In karma yoga, it often refers to your unique duty, your purpose in life. It's about recognizing your talents, your strengths, and using them to serve something bigger than yourself.
Finding that sweet spot where your passion meets the needs of the world.
Exactly. It's not just what you do, but why you do it. Aligning your actions with your values, your purpose. That calling you feel died down.
And the third principle is offering the fruits of your actions to the divine. But that's not about, some cosmic transaction, right?
No, it's more of a shift in perspective,
Yeah.
recognizing that you're not the sole author of your successes or failures. You're part of something bigger, co-creating with the divine.
And by offering the fruits of our actions in that way, we cultivate humility, gratitude, a sense of connection to something larger.
It helps loosen the ego's grip, that need for recognition, control, all that.
So karma yoga is about bringing mindfulness, intention, devotion to everything, even the mundane stuff, transforming everyday tasks into acts of service, self-realization.
And as the Gita suggests, that gradually purifies the heart. It leads toward inner peace, freedom.
It's a powerful idea. But there's another piece of the Gita that always gets me, and that's bhakti, devotion.
Yeah, bhakti, it goes way beyond just rituals or blind faith. It's about nurturing this deep, heartfelt connection with the divine, a love that permeates everything you do.
And the Gita says there are so many ways to express that bhakti. Selfless service, meditation, chanting, even something as simple as offering a flower with a sincere heart.
One of the most beautiful expressions of bhakti, though, is seeing the divine in everyone and everything.
Recognizing that spark of the divine, that essence of consciousness in everyone, regardless of who they are, what they believe.
And that changes how you relate to people. It opens your heart to compassion, forgiveness, unconditional love. You see past those superficial differences and recognize our shared humanity.
And through bhakti, the Gita suggests that we can break free from that illusion of separateness, experience the unity of all things.
We come to understand that we're not just isolated individuals, we're threads in this grand tapestry of existence. Our true nature is one with the divine.
Wow, it's a beautiful vision. But how do we cultivate bhakti? Does the Gita offer any practical advice?
It does, and one of the most powerful practices is, again, surrender. Not weakness, not passivity, but consciously letting go of that need to control everything, aligning yourself with the flow of life, trusting in something larger.
Like saying, okay, I'm done trying to force my way through life. I'm letting go, surrendering to the flow, trusting the wisdom of the universe, the wisdom of my own heart.
Exactly. And the Gita says that when we surrender like that, we open ourselves to a grace, a power beyond anything our ego can even imagine. It's about aligning with the divine will, the cosmic flow, the harmony that's at the heart of it all.
And what I love about bhakti is that it's open to everyone, no matter who you are, what you believe, or what your circumstances are. It's a path fueled by love, and love is a universal language.
So the Bhagavad Gita isn't just a blueprint for liberation, it's a guide for living a life of meaning, purpose, deep fulfillment. It reminds us that we're not here just to survive, but to thrive, to evolve, to experience the fullness of who we really are. It's a call to adventure.
It's an invitation to embark on this incredible journey of self-discovery, to dive deep into that ocean of your own consciousness, awaken to your true nature.
And as we wrap up our deep dive into the Bhagavad Gita, I want to leave you with this. The Gita is timeless, but its message is meant to be lived. Don't just read it, experience it. Take what resonates with you and go explore it further.
Maybe there's a teaching that really speaks to you, a practice you want to try, a question you want to ponder. Let the Gita be your companion, your guide on your unique journey.
Remember, the wisdom of the Gita isn't something you passively consume. It's an invitation to participate, to question, to experiment, to discover your own truth. And as you do, you'll find that the journey is the destination. The most profound teachings aren't found in books, but in the lived experience of your own heart.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deep. The Bhagavad Gita is waiting to be discovered, not just once, but again and again in every moment. Until next time, fellow seekers, keep on diving.